So, hello, this is mkdons here, and yes, of course, it is the international break at the moment, so why don't we bring some mkdons content during the international break at the moment. I thought I'd do a video today, something interesting, of course, like to discuss how mkdons' season has been in the middle of the season. I know it's only November, we're 3 months into the season, but I thought I'd make a video today to see how MK have been doing this season. Analysing what we can do better, what we can improve, going through from back to the start of the season, and then recapping from there until now. So in this video today, I'm going to be discussing about how mkdons' seasons to reflect how we've done at the start of the season compared to now. And look, of course, let's go back what happened in the summer. Of course, we made some very good statement signings after a very, very poor the end of last season. Of course, having a new manager coming in towards the end of the season, Paul Warne, had his own summer recruitment. And then, of course, we did bring the likes of Aaron Collins in, Hepburn, Murphy, Mendes Liang, Gatwick Jones. Of course, we brought Marvin into the club. We've brought some big names into the club. And look, it sounds like very, very promising how when you have a look at this squad and these sort of like big character names like Callum Patterson, Aaron Collins, Mendes Liang, who's got teams promotions and that and has that quality experience in this sort of League Two division, and with a manager what we've got now, with a very good profile manager, Paul Warne, which the owners did see that. Of course, the football club chose Paul Warne as like a big name because he's had that kind of experience at Rotherham, Derby, and look, he's got teams promoted, and this is why mkdons did choose Paul Warne, and that's how we look at it, how the season has begun with those signings. And look, we did get off to a good start to the season. Of course, the opening game was a home game against Oldham. We drew 0-0. And I thought that game, of course, look, respectively to the Oldham supporters, we are going to face them in the FA Cup in the next few weeks' time. And I thought it was one of those games where it was just a fair result. And Oldham, of course, defended very well, set out pretty much to not to win the game, but of course it was probably a fair result to them. And then, of course, we had the likes of like Newport County away, and then, of course, and then the first away game of the season was against Barrow away. Of course, it was a 6-hour trip for me because I took the coach for that. And Barrow, of course, is my second time that I went there. And hopefully is going to be my last time I will be going to Barrow, because there's not a chance I will be travelling there again after doing it twice. Last season on a Tuesday night, losing. And then, of course, we won there with a clean sheet, 2-0. And I thought the first opening game, I actually thought we played decently. I thought we played really well. Of course, when you do travel that far, you always have that slight nerve, is MK going to win today? Because the narrative to that is, it is a long trip. And look, it was the first away game of the season. And you look at these runnable games, what we had, like Barrow away, we won the game. Then, of course, we had Cheltenham at home. And then we did have Crawley away. Of course, Crawley was the only game I missed, quite frankly, but I did do them in the playoffs a couple of years ago under Mike Williamson. And then, of course, we had the away game, which was Newport County. Massive shout out to Mike Green, who's a Newport County vlogger. Go and subscribe to him. Absolutely doing great bits on the channel with Newport content. And I actually thought out of my favourite game out of the whole month was the Newport County game, and that was a ground where it is a bit of a bogey side to us. We haven't won there for like 6 years or so. And we got the job done. And it was quite a good, healthy month. And then, of course, the test was, of course, people were saying that in the September period, we had the likes of Walsall at home. We had Grimsby at home. And these are two teams that have actually are in around the mix of the playoffs. So teams are going to get promotion potentially this season. Look, Walsall, of course, are a team that are very good, superb in this division. But Grimsby picking up form in that period, in that month, from last season when they just missed out on the playoffs and losing to AFC. This was the big test. And, of course, those two games, unfortunately, we didn't get any wins out of that and we lost. And I thought to myself, it is a little bit too early into the say. Of course, we had injuries at the time. Of course, And there was a few players that obviously were signed on deadline day going into that period, and then we were thought, okay, fair enough. And that's why when you have a look at those two games and you go back and analyse those two home games, I thought the Walsall game, they got the goal. They literally sat back and defend. We tried to obviously press and attack. We didn't create many chances. We had a few cut-clear chances. And I remember the Grimsby game as well was a lot worse. We were down to 10 men, of course. Our new defender got sent off. And I just look at it very strangely to go 3-0 down against... Look, Grimsby are a very good side. They had a good start to the season. They picked up form from last season. And then, funny enough, we're just going in 3-2. And look, and I look at those two games. Look, of course, if you said at the start of the season we had a good run of those sort of games, drawn against Oldham, beating Barrow, beating Cheltenham, beating Newport County, and look, these are teams who MK should go and win on paper with the quality and the addition sides we've got to actually address in the summer. And then those two home games, you thought, you know what, is this going back to MK's season again from last season? Are people just getting a little bit too excited? But no. And we massively improved in later in the months. And of course, we did have Carabao Cup action. We did get knocked out in the first round against a very good championship side, Bristol City, which was understandable. It was a good night, to be fair. We gave it a bit of a good go. I remember the only chance we had in that game was when Will Collar had a shot and it went wide. And we only lost the game 2-0 to Bristol City. Look, we don't do well against Bristol City, but we played them in the past when we used to be in League One. And then we started picking up form. It all started off like, okay, in between we did lose that home game against Accrington Stanley. We got a point at Chesterfield. Chesterfield's always a tough place to go to. I know we beat them in New Year in 2025, nearly a year ago now, 11 months ago. And Chesterfield barely lose home games. And then we started picking on, like, we had a very good, healthy month in October. We beat Bristol Rovers 4-0. That was an absolutely great away day, probably the best away day of the season. Up there, of course, with Barnet, which we just had last week in November. And we were beating teams. We were winning. We were scoring goals. We started scoring early goals. We had players like Hepburn, Murphy are like really on fire at the moment. We had an FA Cup in between. And look, I wasn't at the FA Cup game against Colchester because I've been to Colchester twice before. And this was a cup game where do MK finally get past the first round in the FA Cup? And we did. And we're in a good, healthy position right now. I know we've had a few little blips there and about, but mainly we're mostly consistent. And that's what I want to see. We've got a very good quality side. And you got a big up to our away fans from last Saturday, the game just gone against Barnet, 1,342 fans. We haven't seen of that capacity of away fans in such a long time. We haven't seen that. I can't really remember. I can't really clarify you. But in my books, in my eyes to remember, I've not seen that amazing loud support in such a long time. The best two away days I've enjoyed this season is Bristol Rovers and Barnet. And I thought the Barnet itself, the first half wasn't great. They absolutely outclassed us. Then we got the goal back, of course, from Liam Kelly setting it up to Jack Saunders. And that's how the game changed. We got the equaliser. Mendes Liang was absolutely superb. I know some of our players did get a little bit steamed and a little bit burnt out. And it was an end-to-end game. It was a lot of drama, a lot of controversy. Our fans were more louder. And Barnet was a very good away day. And look, these next few weeks, we have Salford at home. I know we've got Swindon in that Virtual Trophy tonight, but I don't go to the Virtual Trophies. So I don't bother looking into that. But we do have Salford at home, and that is going to be a very interesting game. We will talk about that more into the matchday vlog this weekend. Then we've got Tranmere Rovers, and then we've got Fleetwood. So we've got tough games coming up. When we look at those fixtures where we need to start picking up points elsewhere, and that's what we're doing. We're looking good at the moment again. And I don't see mkdons falling outside the playoffs now, especially with the players what we've got now. We've got Craig McGilvey potentially coming back this Saturday, which is going to look good. So I'm going to end the video from here. That is my thoughts of a mid-season for mkdons. Hope for more and bigger videos to come. But I do want to give a massive shout out. I was going to save this for the weekend to surprise you guys, but I'll tell you now. I am being offered to go on an mkdons podcast on Spotify called the Don Dust Podcast. So massive shout out to the Don Dust Podcast. I will be on the Spotify podcast this Sunday at 7 o'clock in the evening. So go and check their Instagram page, the Don Dusted Podcast. I'll put it in the title. And I'll see you for Saturday at Salford at home. Take care. Bye for now.